We'll luckily come back. Have to sign in on all of them.
Okay.
We're ready? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you. Welcome you to the Albany Port District Commission meeting. I'll introduce myself. We'll go around the room and introduce ourselves, and then we'll start the meeting. My name is Georgette Steffens. I'm the chair of the Albany Port District Commission.
Chuck Coffey, Commissioner and Treasurer.
Lieutenant Reynolds, Commissioner.
Noah Pinch, Commissioner.
Tony Bassel, Business Development and Marketing Manager.
David Martino, Vice President, Local 5018.
Jim Gallagher, President, ILA Local 5018.
Tom McGinnis, IT Report.
Annette Gaspers, Board of Albany.
Megan Daly, Director of Economic Development for Town.
Patrick George, General Counsel. Jared Smith, Director of Internal Controls and Enterprise Analysis. Sorry, I was taking a breath.
We pretty intentionally give everyone super long titles, so we have fun going around the room. It's really funny.
Richard Hendrick, General Manager.
Okay, so everyone has received a copy of the minutes from our March 26th commission meeting. If there's no edits or changes, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. At this point, I would open it up for public comment. Is there anything that you guys want to?
We're here to listen to it.
Okay, great.
If anybody wants to use their 5 minutes and has a question for us, you can have it.
All right, thank you.
One second. Is there anything going on or anything that you want to bring to the board's attention?
The only one thing is that post that, but I think that lost the intentions of it. Like on Facebook, I know that took off. A couple weeks ago, we had a vessel here that came up the river, and it was on lash on the way up. And when they do that, and also they lash on the way down, certain heavy lifts, when they do that, we feel not only is it like a safety risk for the vessel going out, we also lose work for members. Like, if they didn't leave one piece on lash, which fortunately they did on that vessel, we would have lost 6 positions. So, and my intentions was putting that on Facebook, because I know the commissioners are like the first line to the politicians, and we'd like to see a possible law in place that they can't do the securing and non-securing on the river. That has to be done at the port for safety reasons.
I don't think there's anybody mind if I ask. Would you mind going through, like, for everybody to learn, go through a cycle of what it looks like for your team if the ship comes up, what your actions are, how long it takes, how many days, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
you know that inside and out, don't be necessary.
Well, that vessel, we were unloading it, so.
The cargo, what was the cargo?
It was, which one was that?
It was the 20 pieces right here.
Yeah, the 20 pieces on the, Alright, so that's maybe 4 to 6 hours worth on lashing, but that's, like I said, 6 members, and they did leave one piece on lash, so we were able to get our lashing crew on it, but if that one piece wasn't on lash, we would have lost 6 positions. But like then when it's done being on lash, that's when we start unloading the vessel. But it's the opposite for when we do load the heavy lifts, and not all of them do it. Sometimes we'll load the heavy lifts, and certain shipping lines, they don't have us lash.
But then, you know, go through how many days labor with the unloading of the heavy lift and,
What was it, that one was
Full day,
yeah, that was a pretty quick one. Yeah.
Can you explain when you say lash? I just want to be clear. Yeah.
All right, for the heavy cargo, it's
Mhm.
secured, there's like chains,
Yep.
cables, straps, whatever it is. And that's what holds the pieces in place. And that's why I feel like it shouldn't go on the river unsecured. It's a danger that they could slip, slide, fall over.
On the heavy,
Yeah.
lift ships.
Yeah.
They're coming in unsecured.
Not
Or going
all of them.
out.
The last one did,
Mhm.
yeah.
And so when you're talking about, those rules and regulations though, are they state, are they federal?
I don't know if there's any, like, I've asked around, nobody can give me an answer whether it's yes or no. But if there isn't, I feel.
it's the crew on board are
Mhm.
starting to work ahead.
Yeah.
Before it arrives at port.
But is there an OSHA or similar regulation that will prohibit that work until it's?
Well,
Can you answer
the
that?
crews work under SOLAS, safety of life at sea.
Yeah.
In the United States, most of that is regulated by the U.S. Coast Guard. I know that in the documentation papers, the ship will check off that their crew will do no work at the dock. I've never seen where it's in transit to the facility. And I mean, they're even, they push that a little bit. I know they hire guys from the longshoremen, but whenever we're moving any of these heavy lift pieces, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the ship's crews operate the cranes for those pieces just because of the technical move that it is. So even though they say that they check off the boxes, they will not do any work at the dock. They are part of the crew that is working. I believe, and I haven't, we got a new captain of the port coming who is a real stickler on administrative clauses. He may have a different opinion, but I believe most of that right now is driven by the captain of the ship. So this is all occurring either before or after they leave here. We can, excuse me, we could probably see what the Coast Guard's opinion is on that sort of stuff.
Place to go, I would think, directly to the Coast Guard.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, certainly safety,
Good information.
safety of our longshoremen is critical for us. So we'll definitely follow up on that. Anything else?
Here to listen, hopefully it's all good.
Yeah, well, I think, the next couple of months sound a little bit better than, the last 2 months. But it sounds like activity's picking up, so we're excited about that. Okay, so in everyone's packet, which we discussed at the Finance Committee, is Resolution 7-2018, where the Port District Commission authorizes the General Manager to execute an MOU with the City of Albany in accordance with the terms that were specified with Schedule A, which is attached to your resolution. This is something we talked about for a while and was discussed at the Budget and Finance Committee meeting to move to the board. So if there aren't any questions, I'd accept a motion to approve Resolution 7-2018.
I just want to clarify for the record that I recused myself from that discussion as an employee of the City of Albany. I will recuse myself and abstain from further participation in this action.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And please note, Joe's abstaining. with that, Joe, I'll turn over to you to provide an update on our finance committee meeting.
Okay, well, briefly, Eric went over the financials for the first 3 months of the year. No particular variances were noted, and we accepted the report as presented. Bob Hennis from P. Johnson Advisors came in and provided us a report on our portfolio as it currently stands. Also discussed the climate of rising interest rates and how that might create a little bit more favorable outlook for our portfolio moving forward. I think that pretty much captured most of the items we talked about. There will be some discussion that I can have with Eric about how we may want to look at what we call leading indicators that might help us identify and predict or forecast some future performance on the financial side for our organization and continue to look at those moving forward. I think that pretty much captured our discussion. You satisfied with that?
So before I turn it over to Rich for his update, I had an opportunity to tour. Rich was kind enough to take me out with all my safety gear to tour the construction that we have going on in the port, and it's very exciting. I know you'll probably give some additional updates, but I think for me, when you look at where the warehouse, the steel is going up to the warehouse, I didn't realize how big that really was when it was just a parking lot, and the clear span and the ability to have the railroad, the tracks that will go in there, I think will open us up to additional potential cargo. And then when Rich and I were looking at the new dockage, really tripling our capacity for cargo there as well for loading and on and off. So those are really exciting projects that will continue to elevate the port, continue our growth, and hopefully bring in more ships and more work. And so I know that Rich and John and the team are doing a really great job of keeping that project moving, hopefully potentially ahead of schedule. So if you haven't had a chance, I definitely recommend going and seeing them pour the concrete for the docks. It's really incredible.
Thank you. Beginning next month, and as a show of return on investment, in 2010 and 11, we received an $11 million grant from the state to refurbish the wharf in Rensselaer, which has had no cargo since, I think, Columbus. We built that wharf with the intent that if anything on this side could not be unloaded, that would be built to the same specifications of 1,200 pounds per square foot. You've heard Tony report over the last several years on the Cricket Valley Power Project. The cargo has started to arrive, and all of the heavy equipment went to the Rensselaer side through that new wharf system that is in place. It'll begin to move out, I believe, the first week in May. There's been a few obstacles that we've been working with both the City of Rensselaer and State DOT. Originally, it was going to come out of the port and go right up Route 9 and 20. Starting this week, the two bridges that it was going to have to cross over leaving the port are being reconstructed. So we're working with the city and taking a different route out of town, up Broadway and up 3rd Avenue through the residential districts for about a 7-hour transit to Poughkeepsie, where they'll get to the job site. So we're trying to adjust timing so that the moves will be made earlier in the evening rather than beginning at midnight. Everything seems in place to begin at about 8 o'clock at night so that we're not causing too much of a disruption for the people that live in the historic neighborhoods. And then anything that occurs during the move will be put back to the way it was prior to the first move going across. There's some islands on 3rd Avenue off of Broadway that are going to have to be taken out to allow the pieces to make the turns. So it's nice working with everybody at the table that is all working towards the same goal. there's gonna be 45 to 48 moves between May and I believe November to get all of the cargo delivered to the site in Dutchess County. This Tuesday, if all goes well on Monday, there'll be some historic changes made at the port. DOT has approved our demolition proposal for the Pico loader at the Cargill grain site. Since Ardent Mills took over that lease, they have no intention of exporting any grain. The loader was only an export loader. The intent of Ardent in the very near future is to build an import facility. So we'll reverse gears, but the contractor at the site, Harrison Burroughs, has hired a subcontractor, Sessler. They've approved or submitted engineered plans to us and DOT as to how the piece will be taken down, and then it'll expedite the continuation of the wharf project, and there's anticipated to be substantial savings in the overall project because of the work that is not going to be required to support the loader system that's on the dock. We've been having a lot of inquiries about wind energy, both onshore and offshore. For the past several years, because there wasn't a lot of scuttlebutt about it, we had not been attending the North American Wind Energy Conference. May 7th, 8th, and 9th, Bill Ring and I are going to Chicago to attend that and try to drum up business for the port with bringing the projects that are destined for the Northeast into the facility here. We're continuing to have a lot of discussions that I so far have been fruitful with this offshore project, which is going to be stretching from the Massachusetts-New Hampshire border down to the Delaware-Maryland border. So we feel that we are situated perfectly with half the distance each way. So if we can continue to be a player in that, it's going to be a lot of work for at least the next 25 years. Along with the Wind Energy Conference, recently Pat has attended a legal issues conference. It's put on by the AAPA, and he's becoming involved in that committee. Eric has just attended a finance committee seminar that was also put on, and I believe in the very near future he'll be put on the AAPA finance committee, working with the big players in the game. The committee's chaired by the Port of Long Beach, LA. So again, the Port of Albany is putting its footprint out there. And Tony just attended the what used to be called the Critical Commodities Conference. New terminology now, Tony?
Cargo Connections Conference.
Cargo Connections.
Still a CCC.
Okay. So we've been busy with all of that business development also. That's about it for now.
Any questions for this?
No.
With real estate update?
There's one component that will be in the executive session discussion.
Anything else? Anything else you want to say?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Cybersecurity.
So you'll recall this agenda item is an outgrowth of a recent cybersecurity assessment. We were one of 3 ports in the country that voluntarily participated in this assessment, which was a program through MARAD. And really, and this was touched upon, as Rick said, I just attended the conference. This was a part of the subject matter of the conference. And as we learned during our assessment, the presenters at the conference indicated that really cybersecurity is not particularly identified necessarily with an IT department. Pardon me. It really needs to be a C-suite and executive management level initiative. So for us to continue to move forward on that on a quarterly basis, we'll have a standing agenda item. I'll note that during our assessment, the observations were primarily related to documentation. We've taken steps to build a documentation library basically related to the deployment of new equipment, both hardware and software, and really establishing, sort of just a blanket deployment depending on the user. That'll help when our equipment ages out and it's replaced for a new staff member, or really just keeps a good control tool so that the department head can request, Tom, here's the request for a computer for a new user, here's the things that are necessary, Tom can deploy it, the department head approves it, and we can always go back, and if we have to recreate or redeploy a machine, we have a written record to do that easily. We're also developing a system-wide inventory of both hardware and software. Again, the same idea that building a documentation library allows us to quickly respond in the event that anything does occur. We've ensured that the software that protects our server is the most updated version, and what we will be looking at going forward, and again, this was something that was useful information from part of the cybersecurity assessment, as well as what folks at this conference have been discussing, and that is adopting NIST, NIST being the National Institute of Standards and Technology, reviewing and looking at their cybersecurity framework. The guidance we received that in the absence of firm guidance from the Coast Guard related to our cybersecurity compliance requirements under our facility security plan, the feeling is that borrowing or piggybacking on the standards already established by NIST will, most likely meet what that upcoming guidance will be. So as we work towards that, we'll continue to provide updates under this agenda item quarterly.
Excellent.
Do we operate exclusively a PC environment? Do we have thin clients as well that go to a central, so you can't put anything on the thin client, it just communicates to the server? Or are we all PC and laptop based?
We're all PCs, although I'm going to defer to Tom on that.
And I'm not sure of the question.
I know what you're talking about.
Well, I guess what I'm really going to wind up asking is, do all the port employees who have port hardware, is there any way that anyone can put software on a port PC, or is it administrative privilege only?
Exactly.
It's administrative privilege only. And
Yeah, I have to put it on.
You have to do, okay. I'm good. Thank you.
And I can't ever get them to do anything.
How are you going to get approved?
Thank you.
He's a tough gatekeeper.
That's good.
It's interesting, cybersecurity is such an important piece, especially as we've updated with not so new security building and all the security controls and the fencing, and it's really just taking that to the the next step. So Tony, we're going to hear from you. I'm interested to see, I don't know if you can talk about, some of the commodities and things that you've been hearing from your conference. That'd be great.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to cover a number of things today, and just briefly, an overview or a comparison of first quarter 2017 versus 18, then an estimate of the second quarter 17 versus 18, and a presentation we made on the fourth part of the Cargo Connections Conference that we mentioned earlier, future business and barge services. So first of all, overview of the first quarter results. First quarter this year, 10 vessels. Last year, 18, down 8 or around 44%. Why? Because we had the Lordstown, Ohio Energy Facility project. We had the Moxie Freedom. We had also a project in Wilkes-Barre, PA. And that's one of the reasons our first quarter was slow. And we experienced those peaks and valleys over a period of time. So then on the tonnage, first quarter, we're up on tonnage. 58,000 versus 40,000. Why is that? That's because of scrap. We had 2 vessels for 39,000 tons, and that's part of the reason for the 18,000 ton increase, 58,000 over 40. Now for longshore hours, due to the fact of the projects last year, the first quarter, as I mentioned, the Lordstown, the Moxie Freedom, and the Wilkes-Barre, longshore hours last year were 16,022. This first quarter, they were 6,407. And why? It's because of the projects that we handled last year and none this quarter. Now, an estimate for the second quarter. Bill Ring provided information, and it looks like through the first quarter of 2018, we should handle about 27 ships and barges. Last year we handled 38, a reduction of 11. And it's primarily because last year there were 24 heavy lifting project cargo vessels and 14 this year, which accounts for the 10. And once again, going back to those projects. The tonnage looks like it's going to be up also. Predicting around 142,000 tons for the 6 months of 18 versus 133 last year, the same period, up around 7,800 tons. Now, the scrap should end about even last year versus this year. Where that 7,800 ton increase comes from is from the heavy lifting project cargo sector. We're anticipating about 34,000 tons. Part of it is the Cricket Valley, which is mentioned. A number of other projects are coming up that will be taking place, and 28,000 last year. So what's happening, it's something like most everything in the world in respect, and also particularly in the maritime industry. We hear about these 20,000 and 20,000 TEU, 20-foot equivalent ships sailing around the world. We're only on the East Coast getting 14,001. So what's happening, you have the larger vessels, less vessel sailings or calls versus a lot more containers. And in this particular instance, what we're seeing, or will be seeing, is on the project cargo ships that are coming in, they're going to have more cargo on them, which normally would come in on 3 vessels. They're marshaling and doing a better supply chain job, you might say. I made a presentation at SUNY Maritime College to the upperclassmen there, and they are in a supply chain, logistics, and maritime program. We talked about the Port of Albany and ports and terminals, and I've been invited back. They're talking to the future leaders in the maritime industry, so Port of Albany is indelibly next on their mind. And then we had talked about the Cargo Connection Conference. At that conference, there were over 300 individuals from Canada, Mexico, South America, Europe, and covered a number of topics there. And I'd like to pass out an item. Somebody that way? This way.
You sure?
Yep, there you go. Feel like a paper person.
Soup for you.
Did you ever come with papers? No? Okay. Not too bad. Everyone have a copy?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Now, if you can, take a look at the first page. And, this is AJAR, the American Journal of Transportation, which we've been advertising with for a long period of time. And this focuses on what our markets are: heavy lift project cargo and break bulk. And if you take a look, it's the Northeast Ports Edition, and it says Port of Albany continued focus on heavy lift and project cargo. Now, these were delivered individually to each and every attendee at the conference. So if you would please turn to page 8. And in the center field there, pages 8 and 9 on the top left, reflection of the northeastern ports. Down at the bottom, our ad, strategically located year-round port. And the one I came up with a number of years ago we used is, however you measure, we measure up. Whether it's metric tons, short tons, long tons, we are a heavy lift project cargo port through here. On the top right is a BBC chartering vessel. BBC is one of the main carriers of the cargo coming in and out of the port. And down at the bottom, FedNav and Federal Marine Terminals had an ad. So we have the entire area covered. And Peter Buxbaum, the gentleman who covered this article, spoke to Bill Ring and I separately, and we both made comments on pages 9, 11, and 16. And one of my comments was, we are the premier heavy lift project cargo port in the Northeast. And while attending the conference, I visited or saw the discharge and loading of a Seacorp barge, which is a barge operation operating from Memphis to New Orleans. And without getting into too much into the weeds, we've been looking at Seacorp as a possible candidate for one of our major projects, Plan B, with what we term developing a container-on-barge service between the Port of New York and New Jersey and the Port of Albany. We've identified what we call, or I call a BBB, a big bite of business, that would provide the base, and we're working from that standpoint. In addition, working with a longtime contact of mine that when I was president of RICA, the Rail Industrial Clearance Association, brought him on board on the board of directors, and we are working on establishing a heavy lift project cargo barge service between the Port of New York and New Jersey. So, if we could work on those two and get those going, we'll be running a couple of barges up and down the Hudson. After all of that, any questions?
Do we do our own ad design or do we outsource that?
Take it, what?
We do it. We're working on updating and changing a lot around as we build our library of photos and that stuff.
We're just kind of getting to the point of re-emphasizing branding.
Yeah.
For that some point, that's what this is.
So so there isn't actually a agenda number, so it might be good. I don't want to cut Tony off, but we also have a marketing piece, and I do think everyone's sort of thinking the same thing. I think it's really important that maybe through this process, brand standards are created, colors, fonts, whatever, and it's carried out through your website, social media, advertisement, marketing materials, the manual for it, which I'm sure you've already thought of because I know you know that stuff, but I think it is really that once our logo is so visual and really striking. And Joey was like, you can see it right away on that page. So how do you start to then every time you see that or other pieces, know it's the Port of Albany, and carrying that through on all of our marketing pieces is critical. So I don't want to cut Tony off, but so we'll get back to this. Does anyone have questions for Tony?
No.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
So we do have before us a resolution 2018 to enter into a contract with Overt Media to provide many of the items we just talked about. The total contract is $30,000 that we have a grid or will be a grant or will be receiving a grant from National Grid to cover 10,000 of that 30,000.
So this is sort of part and parcel to, we are applying for a strategic economic development grant through National Grid also to undertake the expansion feasibility study work that this board had actually authorized 2 board meetings ago. And actually National Grid requires that you do it combined as you're doing a strategic economic development grant, and you're doing feasibility work to undertake expansions or business development activity in the future, expecting that work that you will do will come to fruition. You'll have a site or sites that you'll seek to develop, that you also undertake business development work. And so this would fulfill that requirement, and I think it would serve exactly what you just said, was to offer comprehensive branding, the work that would be included. And we may have confused you with what was in the packet.
You did.
Yes.
I'll try to get the 10 to 30.
So it's on your iPad too, also disregard. But what the proposal is there now in front of you. And what we'll do is update the website, but also hone in on a business development section of the website. And what that would be is, say there are sites to be developed, it would have mapping, it would have particular information on the sites, what it might be suitable for, and information that either sites attraction people or businesses or others could look at and say, right off of looking at it, what this could work for or not. So some of the stuff we may sift through phone calls or emails now may be achieved through that. It would also do some additional digital advertising. So that would be for this business development component. Our goal would be to also coordinate it with some maritime work as well. But the National Grid focus was on, as I said, the hand in glove with the feasibility work that we're looking at now. So as we learn more information about this site work and hopefully have a development site, we'll also have a marketing component to go along with it. The expectation is, so you have the proposal, the scope of work, what they would cover, what the cost would be. The expectation is 1/3 of that would be reimbursed through this National Grid grant.
Can you just walk me through that? Because when I read the proposal, it says they're doing an annual report for 10 grand.
That's what I mean. It might have confused you. That was wrong.
What?
You should not have gotten that.
Yeah.
That work is underway. That one, that was authorized. It was at a level that doesn't require a board. So we have a relationship with Overt where they've done our annual report last year. We're going to have them do it this year. But Overt also has this relationship with National Grid and also with CEG, which we will have to partner with the Center for Economic Growth to do both of these grants, the feasibility work and the business development component. So that's what I meant when I said we may have confused you. What this work is, it's web design and development, so that sets a base. From there, what they would do is a business development effort on that. So specialty page and pages that have that mapping, that have the in-depth information of site or sites that we would want to market or attract development to. And then it would also have digital advertising, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, but it's brand new for us. This is a bit of a focus on this land development, but it could absolutely be coordinated with broader development.
We did have some digital with AJOT for a few years, but that is ended.
So what they would do is, their experience with, what they call the pay-per-click and tracking who goes where and sort of a sophisticated level, so we wouldn't just be putting an out broadcast. There would be, some investigation to what's our market. So, at a new site that we're looking at this point, we would be seeking to attract a commercial or industrial user. There are certain sites that we would not be looking to attract there. And what we would do is custom target the audience that we would have this digital advertising go to. I find it exciting because I like the idea that they sort of prescribe for us that as you're looking to investigate and develop the land, that you also look to get those customers. Because from the National Grid perspective too, ultimately they want somebody that's going to plug things in and pay the power bill. And for us, what we want are tenants that are going to invest in the land, either build a building or use it for other purposes.
Is all of the work you're going to do with the creative part for digital, is any of it print at all?
There is, and so as you did see, we are doing our annual report, which is a brand, and it's this year is going to follow the last year's brand too. And it would include some of that. It would, but the focus of this would be digital.
How much print advertising did we do?
Look to Tony for that, because right now in terms
We
of land
advertise
development,
in
we
two
don't.
publications, Joe. The American Journal of Transportation that I pointed out, that
That's good.
focuses on the heavy lifting project cargo. Also, another international magazine, HLPFI, Heavy Lift Project Forwarding International. And the budget is approximately $10,000 annually for each one.
And the one thing that I would just identify or keep in mind is this is a little bit more of land development and business attraction, and that's a bit more of the maritime.
It is maritime.
Well, I'm just looking at the consistency of branding and imaging and the optics of stuff. They should be congruent. That's the question I was asking about who did that and not to the rapid anything else.
I think with Overit, who did and is doing the annual report and doing the website, I think they'll start to develop that consistency, and they can give you a brand book. I mean, when we've done it, they can give you that. And I think, I was thinking even like right now, the annual report is really our only piece to hand to people, and it's really big, and it's too much to digest, right? So it needs. Tony needs supplemental pieces that he can follow up with people, send them something. A piece even just on the current this year development, $50 million in development, but it's got that same branding look. And so to me, I think website is first, but I think I'd love to see additional pieces that can maybe pull out some of the annual reports so people don't have to read it so much and be able to use that. I think that's critical.
They gently brought it to us of what you're saying. They gently brought it to us in terms of a brand platform and having it all seamless. I like that idea, and that was actually, it came up in some of the discussion of, exactly who's your audience for the annual report. And we did say, it is our only one. And I did say, I'll see Tony carry a box to a conference, and I don't know how he does it. Or Rich when he goes to something, because it's a lot of extra work, and I'll also see, not for nothing, but I'll see Tony carry around a folder that he's had for a long time now.
He designed that a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's very convenient.
And how could we reproduce it, or what could we do that could serve that nature, but in this brand? So we'll ask you about more of the paper, and we'll also ask Tony what could be serve his needs too.
And my guess is some of the pieces that, this is Joe's question, but some of the pieces that they developed for the digital, you can resize for, you know what I mean? Like you can resize for a print pad, or, it's a very easily, manipulated piece. But the ability to track sort of where the people are coming from, how they're getting to your website, what your top 5 resources are, and then figuring, really tracking that so that you can figure out where's the best use of your dollars is, it's so helpful. I think once you have built out the website, I think that information will help drive your marketing.
And it'll help too that we don't have to print 1,000,000 copies of something that lasts for 40 years. You know, we can,
Yeah, the flexibility in
Yeah.
it is.
by the time we use them up, they're outdated.
And a lot of stuff they can do templates and we can insert them, you know, like Cheryl could update the information within that template.
This was also a recommendation of the strategic assessment and the growth strategy.
Yeah.
And it said your audience,
Conversion.
your audience, and how you reach
So we need a motion?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So it authorizes the general manager to execute the documents necessary for overage, for the services not to exceed $30,000.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. It's exciting. All right, so Tony, you wanna give us an update on Ford Industry Day?
Yes, once again, Ford Industry Day, our fifth V, like we want to try to do it like the Super Bowl. We've got the Dutch apple set, we're looking into the various camps and everything like that. The trolleys are set. We have a meeting scheduled for Monday to start moving on a lot of the other portions of the overall project. We've already sent out an email blast to the mailing list that we have.
Okay. Like I save the date?
Save the date, yes.
So I wonder if there could be some really interesting, like, infographics or, right, like, that idea of tripling, the dockage, capacity, or, I don't know, if there's some way to quickly grab people's attentions, whether they're banners that you put around that have some of these interesting stats. Like, I feel like when I welcomed people last time and I said something about us being, I don't know, one of however many for the Tiger Grant, people were like, wow. Like, are there things that we can catch people when they come in with information like that in a visual graphic?
Sort of a by the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Because some people don't have to really read anything, but it grabs them.
Okay, we'll do that.
So is it in the afternoon or in the morning, Tony?
Should be starting around noon, probably go to 4.
Okay. Is there any other business before we enter executive session?
Just a reminder that your financial disclosures are due by May 15th. 20 days.
Check your junk mail on your email. That's where most of ours went to from Jayco.
Hundreds.
Actually, with my financial status, that's where it belongs.
Junk files.
Thank you.
Thank you.
guys.
And oddly enough, I talked to Jayco this morning, and they won't tell me, even as an ethics officer, who hasn't filed. They literally wrote, who has not. They literally wrote back and said, we won't tell you until it goes to the enforcement people, till after the date. And I said, okay, well, I'll just tell
We're not giving
everybody
you heads
every
up, we
time
want to
that-
catch it.
Well, so I'm
I'll
logged
send
in.
another email in a week or
Like,
two.
I went to log in and I logged in and all that comes up is my DMV information. So I must have a port login and I must have a DMV.
Yeah, we're still on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, we're not. So I couldn't figure it out. So I
Because you,
had to-
yeah, you have
I
to go
must
into
have
the
two
right portal.
different,
Yep.
yeah. But it keeps on, I can't get the form to come out.
Okay, why,
Yeah, maybe afterwards.
talk to me about it now.
Because I can't
I'll
get the
talk to
form.
him. Okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
I updated yours
Yeah,
last year,
year.
during the year, so that
Yeah.
that's it.
Any other business? Okay, so, with that, I will take a motion to enter executive session to discuss, proposed acquisition of property. Second? Second. All in favor?
Okay.
All set? Okay, so there was no action taken during executive session. Our next meeting has been moved, so it's now scheduled for Friday, May 25th at 9 a.m. And with no other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.